In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your products and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the website they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our news site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the voiceless.
Hello. Our usual host, Dustin Pickering, is on assignment. I will be hosting today. My name is CARLO PARCELLI, and I have with me my co-host, Billy Bob. And we're going to open with a discussion of the efficacy of the left, the people that we read and the people that we sometimes rely on for source material and say we admire. We're going to kind of rake them over the coals, I think. Should be a lively discussion. Billy Bob, you want to toss something out now?
Yeah. So Dr. Bair was hoping to join us. He has not yet made it, so he might show up over the next hour, perhaps. And we'll, of course, incorporate his excellent analysis into our discussion. But, you know, was it yesterday or the day before, Carlo and we had a little bit of a drag out on my Facebook wall, just exploring our different opinions on current events. And, you know, we don't exactly see eye to eye. And our differences include, you know, domestic politics, the utility and the benefit there is in these alternative leftist analysts like, let's name a few, Carlos. So Jackson Hinkle, what Mate you like? The other guy is in Nicaragua. He's really good too. Norton.
Well, Ben Norton is very good.
Ben Norton.
Max
Blumenthal, yeah, the Gray
Greenwald,
Zone.
Glenn Greenwald, yeah.
So we were gonna
Matt Taibbi,
yeah. So I was thinking what we could do today is we can discuss our thoughts on these people and how they contribute or they don't contribute to the discourse. You know, is it a positive contribution or is it a negative contribution? That should be. I mean, we should be able to talk for hours on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let me give a brief summary of my perspective, I guess. You know, generally speaking, we're stuck with the mainstream media, and it's awful. Like, it's terrible. We have CNN and Fox, we have the blue channel and the red channel, and it's kind of just like our politics. Like, we have two parties, but they both kind of are exactly the same when it comes to foreign policy, economic policy, and all the main things that really matter. There's really no differences, in my opinion. So it's really a one party. It's a one party system, and they divide themselves into two wings. And that division is kind of an illusion. You know, it's really not based on tangible differences. And again, they're funded by the same interests and they work for the same interests. And so it's a one-party system. We have a one-party system. I call it the capitalist dictatorship. So and they also control all the media. So they own CNN and they own Fox News. But there are some differences, and these differences have recently manifest themselves in Trump, right? So you have a faction within the establishment press that's pro-Trump, and then you have a majority consensus that's anti-Trump. And that's the mainstream media. And then you have all these ancillary, independent, alternative news people or analysts that are, saying things about reality. So there's right-wing ones, crazy nut jobs like the guy that was doing the Sandy Hook thing.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex Jones. So you got your right-wing nut jobs, Alex Jones, but then you have a whole bunch of people that are more on the left that, generally speaking, I appreciate their contribution. So everybody from Taibbi to Greenwald to Mate to Norton to Hinkle, like all these guys, I don't want to condemn. I can condemn them on certain specific issues where I might disagree with them. But for the most part, I value their contribution, and I'm glad that they're out there, really, and what they do the best is just expose the lies and the hypocrisy of the establishment press. And they kind of point out that, everything, the whole narrative that the establishment press promotes of our two-party democracy is basically a lie. So, I don't agree with each of these people on every little thing, but for the most part, I am glad they're there and I support them. And so I would not go as far as I've heard you go in your denunciation and condemnation of various people. But so that's a disagreement I've seen between, my approach and your approach. But you feel obviously very strongly that you have sound reasons to be, to condemn some of them because of their kind of embrace of people on the right. Their willingness to go on Fox News or to talk with right-wing wackos. But let me shut up and I'll let you talk about how you generally perceive and approach these things.
Well, for me, it's been two subject areas: COVID and January the 6th. And my concerns with COVID is the metaphors, especially used by Jimmy Dore, which with Max Blumenthal on his program. They confuse the political process with the scientific process, and they will gratuitously take a virus and compare it to a political comment or a political event, and so with a virus is not a political event. A virus is a scientific reality, and that confusion, I think, has led them down to this kind of whack-a-mole approach where they have every whack job on the planet and every little fragment they can find that refutes the science on COVID to negate the science. And I think ultimately, and I'm going to say this, they're killing people. They are accomplices in the murder of people. We have had Regis Tremblay on our show a couple of times. I love Regis. He's a wonderful person to talk to, but he has this crazy person on by the name of something Wog. I can't remember her first name. WAUG. For example, she said on apropos of this that asymptomatic meant that you did not have COVID, but that's absurd. Asymptomatic clearly means you can look up the fucking definition on the fucking goddamn computer you're sitting in front of, which she obviously was, and look it up. It means you have the disease, you've been tested for the disease, and it demonstrates you have it, but you're not demonstrating any symptoms. That's what asymptotic means. That's how stupid this woman is. And then she goes on about research, right? She wants to talk about the research she's done. The only fucking book she cited for one of the programs was this book by this out-and-out fascist Ku Klux Klan racist named Eustace Mullins that used to live right down the road from me in fucking Virginia, who I'm sure attended cross burnings with the KKK. And if he was a little bit older, he would have been down there at the lynchings. This is the book she's citing. This is the racist eugenics fuck she's citing as being an authority on this theory she has about the Khazars. It was just lunatic wall-to-wall lunacy, the whole program. But to get back to Jimmy Dore and Max Blumenthal and Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi and all these folks, they not only have that, many of them, especially Blumenthal and Dore, as far as I can tell. I mean, they lost one of their best journalists over this, Ben Norton. He split. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Aaron Mate, another great journalist, he never goes on Dore to comment about COVID. He's out with that. He can see that this is bullshit, and it's really very close to criminal activity, and it may come down to that eventually. A comment was made to Regis by several people on his comment section that he may be open to liability because this woman Wog killed her boyfriend. Her boyfriend, as she admitted on the air, came down with COVID, and he wanted to go to the hospital, and she kept saying, no, don't go to the hospital. Don't go to the hospital. And eventually he went to the hospital because he felt so bad, and he died. And then she blamed it on the hospital. It's on her. If he'd gone to the hospital earlier, he might be alive. We don't know, but he might be alive. So there are liability issues down the road possibly for these people, and I don't think they'd be unjustified as far as COVID goes. January 6th. January fucking 6th. Everybody goes from Dore to Blumenthal and even Greenwald and even in an interview with Alex Jones about that Sandy Hook affair, they all want to pave it over like it's really not important, it's not significant. Well, so now they've had egg on their face now several times. Secret Service destroyed documents, Homeland Security destroyed documents, some other element. Some other element of the U.S. government, elements in the government destroy documents. They destroy documents because they present their guilt and their involvement in a much larger conspiracy. And that's only one dimension of the January 6th that these dumb fucks like Blumenthal and Dore have not anticipated. But they don't mention it. They don't want to have anything to do with it because it makes them look stupid and out of the loop. And they are stupid and they are out of the loop. I'll stop there, but I got a lot more to say. Go ahead.
Okay. So, I do as well. I mean, I'm not sure if you're right about Mate making a conscious decision not to weigh in too much on the COVID issue. I know it doesn't interest me. I mean, I'm suspicious. I mean, I don't. It's hard for me to know what to believe. And so because I don't have certainty and it doesn't really interest me, I really limit my analysis on that issue. But I don't mind. I haven't heard any specific thing said by any of these people that I would really condemn them for. You'd have to give me a specific quote that's not true. So let me. I empathize with their suspicion, right? Because a lot of it doesn't make sense. There's so many questions still, and there's definitely an exploitation of this event by Big Pharma and for political purposes. And so where does the reality end and the gross exploitation begin? Like somewhere there's a line there, and I haven't quite identified and isolated it, and I don't have a lot of certainty, and I don't have a lot of interest really Definitely everybody knows that a lot of people died. I mean, so people that deny that there was a virus that killed people who otherwise probably wouldn't have died, I think they're wrong. I think they're overstepping and they're misguided. But I don't see Dorr doing that. You know, I'm not sure where he would be wrong or what he said that I would say, no, you're wrong on that point. So they do put out this this downplaying of the virus. They do condemn the government's response with lockdowns, etc., and masks, and so they're very critical of the approach. And I'm not sure I share their criticism, right? I'm not sure lockdowns weren't a good idea. I'm not sure masks weren't a good idea. And Dorr seems to think that he seems to have certainty that lockdowns and masks were not a good idea. So, I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. I don't get angry at him for that. But at the same time, I'm not all excited and saying, yeah, the masks are bad, because, obviously the masks can limit your transmission if you have it. I mean, it can help you from getting it and keep you from passing it on. So there's, I mean, it's a small thing, but I'm certain that it was politicized by both the Democrats and the Republicans for their respective, political interests, and also the big pharma, right? Like they were forcing these vaccines on people, and now they've allowed them for like kids as young as 3. I'm totally opposed to that. You think I'm going to let my kids be vaccinated by their fucking shit? Fuck no. I got vaccinated. I'm an adult. It knocked me up for 2 days. I was sick for 2 days because of the vaccine, and that's fine. Allegedly it's going to help me. So I ended up getting COVID anyway, and I was knocked up for another 3 days. The actual COVID wasn't much worse than how I felt with the actual vaccine. In fact, come to think of it just now, I probably felt worse from the vaccine at my worst than I did with the actual COVID. And COVID lasted a little bit longer, but it wasn't as bad. And so you could say that's thanks to the vaccine, and you might be absolutely right, but definitely there's reasons to be skeptical. What? But you want to respond to that particular?
But you see, you're doing what they do.
Yeah.
You're confusing big pharma making money with the science. The science and big pharma are two different things. You were sick for a couple of days, but you're not dead. Okay? Right. That's a big deal. But that's the difference. Well, now, Jimmy Dorr.
Hold on. Let me respond to that comment, Carlo, because honestly, the mortality rate of COVID is like 0.001% or something. So 99.99% of people without getting vaccinated before vaccines were a thing did not die from COVID. So you can say that the vaccines lower that mortality rate even more. And that's what they claim. And they might be right? It might be true that the vaccines lower the mortality rate, but the mortality rates were minuscule. They were microscopic before. And remember, when we're talking about 0.001%, we're still talking about hundreds of thousands of unnecessary deaths.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But again, 99.9%, more than 99.9% of people before vaccines were surviving COVID. I mean, is that a fact, or do you dispute that fact?
I got another way of approaching it.
Okay.
Certainly, the vaccine cut down on the vast majority of the people, 85 to 95% who died, did not get the vaccine. In the United States, out of every 1 million people, 3,408 have died per million. In Canada, where they had lockdowns, the number is 304 per million. That's like 1/10 of the people. So that would indicate to me, from a scientific dimension, for Christ's sake, let's talk science for a change and not worry about these motherfuckers hustling us for money, which they're doing anyway. You can't even afford insulin anymore. That's an indication the lockdowns worked. Same with China. Minuscule deaths compared to the United States per million people. Over 1 million Americans have died from COVID. So it's 1 out of every 300. Now, that's not huge, But that's a lot of grief. That's a lot of tears. Fuck that. And fuck them. You know, for Jimmy Dore, especially for masking that shit. And Max Blumenthal for going along with it. He should know better. He's an actual researcher. He actually knows the names of people who were in the State Department when Nixon was president. He actually knows a little bit about American foreign policy. Dore can't even pronounce these people's names. I mean, he admits he's just a jag-off dumb comedian who came to this Johnny-come-lately. I mean, who was behind the first Iraq War, the second Iraq War, or some stuff. He's an idiot who just came to this. He doesn't know a fraction of what we know. Not a fraction. That's why he has a big audience, because they don't know the fraction of the fraction that he knows. And he has a big staff to help him. And he still can't pronounce names and words when he reads. And he doesn't know I don't know who that is or what that is. Fuck you. Well, look it up, you moron. You got the goddamn computer in front of you. But the point I want to make here is I'm going to give you my anecdote. I've had 4 shots. I didn't suffer anything. I'm 74 fucking years old and a dying heart patient. And I had no symptoms, none whatsoever. And now I go out without a mask because I feel comfortable about it. 1. And number 2, when I look at what the world is becoming, I feel like part of me feels like, well, my job is done. The American empire is collapsing. Yay! Yay! Let's set off the fireworks. I'm ready to go. Take me up. Beam me up, Scotty. I'm ready to go. That's part of it. The other part of it is I don't want to live the rest of my life wearing a mask. I have trouble breathing as it is. Wearing a mask is very inconvenient. If it takes me, it fucking takes me. Okay? But I'm not going to sit around while I'm here and let these Johnny-come-latelys and these people that don't have the critical ability of a chimpanzee to dictate to these large audiences of lemmings what they should know and shouldn't know and should think and not think. And the other problem I have with it is when you look at who those lemmings are, this gets us back to January 6th. They're right-wingers and they're racist. So what Jimmy Dore has done is he's flipped his community. His community resembles Breitbart now. That's the kind of people posting. Because of his take on COVID and January 6th. And he's hammered away at those two, at least the one thing, COVID so long, and ignored January 6th so positively. And when he does report on it, he just ridicules the whole process. So when the American empire collapses, it's going to go through a long period of domestic fascism. And who are they going after? Who are they already going after? I watched this fucking documentary again for preparation for the show last night on the prison population and how it came about, how it's had its origins in slavery and the Civil War and so on and so forth. I can't reprise the whole thing. But the process is that white people want to keep people of color down. And that's what's already happening here. The worshipers killed in a mosque. The elderly black people killed in their church. The Jews killed in their synagogue. The poor fucking Asian women shot down outside their nail parlor or inside their nail parlor. Fucking A. So you just go to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which I have been following and supporting for years. And you can see the statistics, the hate that the white people, that's the big lie that Jimmy Dore is promulgating. That is, it's not about race. It is about race. Trump is all about race. DeSantis is all about race. Rubio's all about race. They're all about race. Every fucking one of those election deniers. So you get to this point with Bannon, for example. Let's take Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's position is if my guy wins the election, it was fine. If my guy loses the election, it was fraudulent. No middle ground. That has no basis in reality. You cannot operate on this planet without reality. That's just going to cause chaos and death and just unbelievable bloodshed, mostly against innocent people, the wrong people. And that is what Bannon says he wants. That's what he's seeking. So if you don't take him at his word, and you don't look around and see the change, the sea change that has taken place in the nature of the violence that's taking place in this country, you're blind. And Dorr, to go back to my original argument, Dorr and Blumenthal and God damn it, Greenwald and Taibbi to a large extent, because I think he's not making a living now. They are abetting it, and there's Hinkle. You know, Hinkle is beyond. He's like even worse than they are, because he makes huge mistakes and errors and says things that he trying to point out that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are hypocritical because of her computer. Her computer had confidential material, highly classified material on it that she traded with Panetta and other people. But the fact of the matter is, she went before Congress. She testified before Congress. When have you had Fat Donnie that come out of Mar-a-Lardo and confess and testify before Congress under oath? You've never had him do that. Well, fucking have him do that. Then, Hinkle, you've got a comparison. But until you don't have that comparison, you're the hypocrite, you fucking moron. I'm trying to hold back.
Well, that's a lot. You said a whole lot, and it's difficult for me to see how one thing relates to the other. We started talking about, COVID. We started talking about big pharma making these vaccines, and there's some question about their efficacy, right? And you noted that I didn't pass away when I got COVID, which is a very good bet that even without the vaccines I wouldn't have passed away, because I'm not in the demographic. So you noted that you said 95% or so of the people that died did not get the vaccine.
85 to 95. 85 to 95. That's the official estimates.
I think the same percentage of people that did die from COVID were also over the age of normal mortality. So they should have, if they were like over 80 years old, and our longevity is what, like 78 or 79. So the vast majority of people that passed away from COVID were already over the average life expectancy, and they had probably many comorbidities. And so the people that were susceptible, of course, and that had very weak immune systems were the ones to die, and they all died before the vaccines were available. But, it was young, healthy people like me and my demographic. I'll bet you, it's minuscule that people, but people did. There was outliers. Of course, even people my age, young people, kids, they all, they died, but the vast, overwhelming 99.99% did not, succumb to COVID, even if they didn't get vaccinated.
I don't agree with your exact numbers, but I won't quibble with them. But people still died.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to say up front, those are not exact numbers. So I'm speaking, I'm using exact numbers, but I'm speaking more, more generally and not precisely. So how do we get from that to January 6th? So we're just talking about, these alternative analysts that are popular, but not in the mainstream, and their different takes on things, right? So their take on COVID, you're not happy with. I am more neutral regarding their take on COVID, but January 6th, I am liable to agree with them, right? So I kind of agree with most of them on their take that it was something that's being politicized and exaggerated for a political end. But let's let's take our break. Our producer wants to take a break, and then let me talk a little bit more about my thoughts on the January 6th when we come back from break.
All right.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
We're back.
So I was gonna go ahead and talk about January 6th from my perspective, which I know, Carlo, you'd vehemently disagree with. So I'm sorry for making you hear this, but I have empathy for the protesters. I know why they were angry. I understand their anger and frustration. I think they were misguided. Anybody that wanted to actually physically harm somebody else, those people that took zip ties and whatever else, and they were planning on, hurting other people, they should be prosecuted, but let's not say that was a legitimate attempt to overthrow the government. To me, it was a protest, and
I never said that.
Okay, good. I'm not, I don't want to put words in your mouth either, but so it wasn't a real attempted coup, because I do hear the media say that a lot, that it was an attempted coup. I don't agree with that. It was a protest, and it was really not that dissimilar from kind of protests that had been going on for months and months and months, against Trump and against the police and things like that. Of course, what I'm saying is it wasn't different. The level of violence wasn't that different, because
yes, but you have to take into account intent. We've already been down this.
Well, the motivation, take into account the motivation that was influencing the people to go and protest. So on January 6th, again, I have empathy for or sympathy for these Trump voters who really felt that they were being, I wonder if we're going to get banned from YouTube again. It just crossed my mind that they won't let them. If I say,
yeah, don't say that. Don't say what you said last.
No,
time.
we don't want to get banned from YouTube. So, and again, so let's just say, so they thought, and I'm not saying this is true, because if I said it was true, they might get banned. But so they really thought that the election was stolen from Trump. The election
Did they really? Do they really? No, they don't. Nobody's that stupid. Not even them. And the connection between COVID and January 6th is the crowd was overwhelmingly anti-vax. That's your connection. Everybody's believing supposedly the same lie, but they're lying about believing it. They're lying. They know they're lying. They're not. You have to be on some drug, some drug that the Central Intelligence Agency and George White and Sidney Gottlieb have never even thought of yet to believe that shit. It's just shit, and they know it's shit. They don't care. What they want is to keep a white Christian country. That's what Bannon keeps saying. If you don't hear that, you're going to end up with a slaughter of your minorities in this country by these fucking racists. And you can't minimize that. You got to hear it. If you don't hear it, it's going to be too late. They don't believe that shit. They know it's a lie. They don't care. They want to stay top dog. They want to stay Lyndon Johnson's puppies. I can buy any white person as long as I tell him he's superior to a black person. That's Johnson's politics. So
yeah,
we got to get rid of this stupid notion that these people believe this shit. They don't believe it. They don't believe it for a minute. If they believed it, they would have some evidence for it.
I mean,
Belief
and
is
I mean,
based on reality.
You know that's not true, Carlo. You know that people don't need evidence to believe things are true. So, I mean, we just disagree. We disagree. So number one,
on these subjects they do, not on subjects like God. That's different. That's a whole different thing. This is a political arena. This is an arena. This is a social arena. This is where they're with fellow human beings.
People don't need evidence for their beliefs, but they did have evidence. So we talked about
what evidence? What evidence?
Our show that got banned from YouTube, like, we talked about the different things that actually, without a doubt, influenced the election, right? So there was all kinds of things. Number one, it was 4 years of anti-Trump propaganda. A lot of it lies. So, for instance, when Trump said there's good people on both sides, referring to the toppling of historic statues. So should we topple a statue that has Robert E. Lee because Robert E. Lee owned slaves? So there's some people that say no, and there's some people that say yes. So there's good people on both sides, and that's what Trump said, right? But the media deliberately misinterpreted it. The media put out this story that said Trump said neo-Nazis, some neo-Nazis are good people. So the media just ran with that. And if you paid attention, you knew that was a deliberate misrepresentation.
No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all.
That's one way that the media.
That's not what happened, though.
The election, because they lied like that for 4 years.
Yeah.
Right up before the election, there was the Hunter Biden laptop story, and they censored that, and they said it was Russian disinformation, and they didn't allow that story to be shared. So that's another way that the election was influenced.
Right.
So in addition to that, you had Trump.
But then you had Benghazi. You had the Willie Horton things during the Reagan era, and that was not both people on both sides. That was about Charlottesville. That was not about fucking Confederate statues. That was about those motherfuckers carrying those tiki torches, going, "The Jews will not replace us," which is basically a quote from Nazi Germany, Goebbels, and that's what that was about.
That's not what Trump was talking about. Trump wasn't talking about that.
Yes, he was. That's what he meant. He was questioned about Charlottesville, and that was his answer. That was his answer to Charlottesville, not the fucking Confederate statues. And if you want to talk about the fucking Confederate statues,
that's what it was about.
Confederate statues are not Confederate statues. They were put up in the early 20th century to keep black people in a state of fear and terror. They were part of the terrorizing people because of the rise of the Ku Klux Klan after that fucking film, Birth of a Nation. That piece of shit film. And the Ku Klux Klan got really powerful after that. They were re-empowered after a fucking Hollywood film. And Woodrow Wilson going, "Oh, what a great film," or whatever the fuck that shithead said. But the matter is it's a way of terrorizing blacks. Those statues are there to terrorize blacks. They have nothing to do with the Civil War. They have to do with racism and the perpetuation of racism and the birth of Jim Crow. That's what they have to do with. And when it comes to Trump and that quote about both people on both sides, he was talking about the tiki torch people. Literally.
That's not true.
Literally.
That's
that was the question. Look it up.
You look it up. You look it up, Carlo. I've looked it up.
Look it up. I saw it last night in the documentary that I watched. We're
going to have to disagree. So, I read the context. In the exact same speech, he denounces neo-Nazis. He says specifically, listen, Carlo, he says specifically, I am not talking about white supremacists and neo-Nazis in the exact same speech. So there's no ambiguity.
No. Well, you know what that is. That's a political speechwriter saying, you don't want to lose this vote or you're going to lose that vote, whether that was an accurate assessment or not. I don't think it is. I think Trump should go full force racist if he wants to get more votes. He should vote his heart. This is the motherfucker who who wanted to see the 5 kids in the Central Park 5 murdered. I mean, executed. And then it turned out they were innocent. And that fucker is so vain and so fat and so full of shit that he couldn't admit he was wrong when they were found innocent. He said they should stay in jail. What kind of a piece of shit is that? What kind of, if you support that, if you vote for that, you're a fucking racist. There's clearly there's no ambiguity here. There's no room for any ambiguity. And what Trump says in a fucking speech, politicians read what they're supposed to read most of the time.
But you can't have it both
and they
ways,
lie
He
constantly.
said
No, I'm not
something
defending
and then say
Russiagate.
that he didn't say it, but it was a lie. Like it was just a speech. Like you can't have it both ways. It's either one or the other. And I'm telling you, Trump was weighing in on the debate about the statues. And he said, so if you want to say that there's not good people who think that statues ought not to be torn down because they were of a slave owner, I mean, that's fine. And, but that's not Trump's opinion. Trump's opinion is that some of the people that were opposed to toppling statues were good people, and we can't just write them off as rabid racists that we can't tolerate in polite society.
We disagree on the context. We utterly disagree on the context.
So I'll tell you who agrees with me and says that you're wrong. It's that guy from CNN. Like he admitted it. It's the guy from CNN. He's the main, so he's the biggest Trump hater. But even he was on air admitting that what Trump said was not about, he did not say there was good neo-Nazis or white supremacists. So, I mean, it's
no, he didn't say that, but he was talking about the tiki torch bearers.
No, he wasn't. It
yes,
was
he
about,
was.
It was about the debate about the toppling of statues, about the toppling, because that was the catalyst in Charlottesville.
I don't care. He's a racist and he's a bigot. If you don't see that, and of the first rank, and the only thing that's saving people is, I think the little twat is afraid of blood. I think he's a little coward, and that's why that got him into trouble. Because that's what they predicated this Russiagate bullshit on. That was other horse shit.
I like to have an analysis that is intellectual and not emotional. So, I mean, so we're having a discussion and
I'm emotional about slaughter. I'm emotional about people being killed. I'm emotional about sorry. Yeah. That's me. I'm fucking emotional about it because I see what's coming and you fuckers don't. I don't, Jimmy Dore does it. He just goes la 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 down the road to fascism.
We have a disagreement over what's coming. Like I don't see your prognostication as being something that I ought to fear because I don't think it's I don't think your perception is accurate.
It's already happening. Look it up. Southern Poverty Law Center. Read their statistics on hate crimes. Jesus Christ! You think they're making that shit up? No, they're not making it up.
So. Yeah, I mean,
it's already happening. It's in your streets already. Cops are killing black people all the time, every day.
Right. I mean, since 1776, though. So it's
but it's accelerating at an enormous rate now that the minority population is going to exceed the white population. There's this. That's what Bannon talks about: a white Christian nation. Jesus Christ. How more obvious can it be? Don't make me playing Chamberlain to these fucking Hitlers. Jesus.
So what I see, the issue, the problem with that analysis, right, is that it fails to appreciate the political reality. So there's a political reality where you have a ruling establishment, right, that really doesn't care about saving black children or any of the things that you actually care about. So under Obama, for instance, right? Obama, he said he had the right to kill U.S. children without any government oversight, right? He declared that under the rules of the War on Terror, I can kill U.S. children far from any battlefield. And that's my sovereign right. So he did. Like he killed
that 16-year-old, yeah.
Right. And then his daughter, or the 16-year-old's baby sister, ended up getting killed about 1 month into Trump's presidency, by a U.S. bullet. And the most prosperous country in all of Africa, Libya, Obama overthrew that government, reduced it to a failed state terrorist haven, and brought open-air slave markets back to Africa. So our black president did that. So again, I think when you're just misguided in your denunciation of Trump and pretending. You're not pretending, you really think it's true. But in my opinion, Trump is no worse than Obama. Okay, he's no more dangerous than Obama, and I think there's a lot more reasons to hate Obama, for legitimate reasons, than there are Trump. Because Trump, we know what we get with Trump.
We want to talk about emotion. You're talking about hatred, and you're confusing domestic policy with foreign policy. I mean, that's just bullshit. You can't do that.
Well,
you can't do that.
I reject the assertion that everything is silent. I think there's an interconnectedness to everything. I don't think you can isolate domestic policy from foreign policy.
You have to a certain degree, because you can have a domestic Holocaust and have the same foreign policy you had all along. In fact, they're kind of kumbaya.
When Obama was president, no black people were killed.
What's that?
When Obama was president, no black people were killed in the United States?
No, they were killed, but not at the rate that they're being killed. They were being killed under Trump, not the rate. Okay. Listen, how many articles do I have to read where black people say they were afraid to put out banners or signs on their front lawns for the candidates they wanted to vote for, whether they be local, state, or federal elections, because they were afraid that they would have that the white people would come after them. And even Trump's rhetoric at his rallies, the old days we would have beat them up. The old days we would have strung them up. In the old days we would have, that the documentary's great, because at the end it has this montage of Trump making these statements, and then it shows what was actually happening during the civil rights that was fulfilling exactly what Trump was advocating for. And it goes back to that Willie Horton thing with Roger Ailes and Lee Atwater and Karl Rove, when they basically used race as a trigger. All blacks are criminals, blah blah blah. Now, the Clintons, they went full force with that, because as the documentary states, a Democrat couldn't get elected unless he did the same triggers, unless they said, we're for law and order, the old Nixon bullshit, and we're going to clean up the streets. Because as the number of the commentators said on the program, who were blacks were also made afraid of crime. So it worked. It got Clinton elected, and it got this prison program.
Let me summarize what I see as our differences. So here's what Dore said this morning. So I was watching Jimmy Dore this morning, and he said people oppose him when he wants to unite the left and the right against. Yeah. He wants to unite the left and the right against the establishment. So that's what Dore proclaims he is interested in doing, whereas you are interested in joining with the establishment against Trump and against what you would consider the right.
Yes, I want to see Trump eliminated, and I want to see all of his supporters eliminated, so we can go back to concentrate on taking down the deep state. As long as we got this bullshit, it's not going to happen.
That blows my brain. I don't understand that. So again, Dore wants to, so the establishment and the deep state, I think, can be synonymous, right? So Dore wants to unite the working class, the right and the left, against the establishment, against imperialism.
No, he doesn't. He's
And
lost half the working class.
No, that's his stated objective.
No, that's bullshit.
Okay,
this economic argument is
you gotta
bullshit.
let me frame things. You gotta let me frame things, and then respond to the framing. So
right.
Again, that's Dore's framing. So that's Dore's framing. And what I hear from you is that you want to unite with the establishment against the right.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I never said that. I never even came close to saying that.
But that's
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm with the true left. I'm with the true left. I'm not with these. I'm not with people that associate with fascists and are too naive to see what murderers look like. I'm not that stupid. I'm an old man. I've seen it happen over and over again. Fuck.
So you know, the anti-Trump rhetoric, and I think
this isn't
a lot
rhetoric.
of it is unfair.
This
right?
is what's
I think a lot
happened.
of the anti-Trump.
This is history.
But I think a lot of the anti-Trump rhetoric is unfair, and I hear that you are repeating the same things that CNN says and that all the mainstream anti-Trump.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not repeating some of the same things. I'm using my fucking eyes and my senses. You know, I'm drawing on David Hume and Immanuel Kant. I'm not drawing on fucking CNN. Fuck CNN. And fuck that Russiagate bullshit.
He's often presented as an overt racist that says there was good people among the neo-Nazis and white supremacists. And that's just not true. Like, Trump has never presented himself like that.
It is true. All you need is the Central Park 5. Go back into his history. Jesus Christ. What more evidence do you need of a racist than that?
Oh
my God, ask black people. Don't ask me. Just shut up about me. Just go ask them, for Christ's sake.
Okay, and who prosecuted them? It was the Democrats, right? Like, so the establishment aren't the good guys here. And Trump is no worse than the establishment. That's what I'm saying. The establishment is worse. It's more powerful, it's stronger, and it's a much, much, much bigger enemy than Trump.
Yes, all the more reason to get rid of this little hemorrhoid on the butt of the republic. Y'all, you know, let's get rid of this cancerous little twat named Trump and all of his neophytes and get back down to business rather than this bullshit, you know, of model calling basically fascists and racists. You know, that's playing right into Bannon's playbook. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to bridge the gap. I mean, I'm trying to articulate, you know, a thing, and I get it. Like, you are passionate anti-Trump, and you see him as the ultimate evil. But I just
not the ultimate evil. No, he's not the ultimate evil. The ultimate evil is the deep state. But you've got this little pimple on the butt, and we gotta get the pus out, and then go back to our business rather than this stupid notion that Jimmy Dore, and he's lying. Jimmy Dore says it's economics, it's not racism. It's racism. It's pure, simple, white racism, period. It's anti-Semitism. It's anti-Semitism, period. And that's what Jimmy and Max and Greenwald and Taibbi and Henkel are playing with. That's the fucking shit they're playing with. Just read their comments that they get.
So
just read the comments.
That's a tough accusation. I mean, I think if you want to call Trump anti-black, even though he had all kinds of black people in his life and he has the support of all kinds of black people, I think it's an even bigger stretch to call him an anti-Semite just because of he was so good.
What support of black people has he had that he hasn't bought? Oh, please. What support? What support?
No, I mean, there's a minority in the black community that are pro-Trump. I mean, it's a small minority.
I mean, there's always going to be 3%, 2%.
Yeah.
I mean, well, they feel like they can capitalize on it. It's like those people at his rallies. The black people go to his rallies. They get to sit behind. They get to sit behind Trump, and they get paid $200.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they got paid. I don't know if
they do. They do. Just ask Alec. You know what Alec is?
So I'm fine. I'm fine with calling Trump a racist. I'm fine with saying that he's evil and all those things. He's just not any more of a racist than the Democrats. He's not any bigger racist than Joe Biden, and he's a lot less dangerous. He's a lot less dangerous than Joe Biden.
He's energized the fascists. He's energized the racists. I mean, you can't deny that. You have January 6th. You have Charlottesville. You have all of these other. I mean, they just fucking beat up a bunch of LGBT people somewhere in the country. While we're just trying to have while the people are trying to have an innocent march, they're threatening people. They're threatening people at children's hospitals. At this moment, they are threatening people at children's hospitals because of this lie about them performing operations on people, kids under 18, to have their sex changed. You know, that's just, if they really believed, if they really weren't racist and bigots, they would look into that and find out it was a lie. But no, they're just taking it face value, and they're threatening to kill doctors, surgeons. So that's your world. Welcome to it. Welcome to it.
I don't put all that blame on Trump. You know, I don't think it's
I do, because they're doing it in Trump's name. And if you don't blame it on Trump, wait till you get DeSantis. Then you go from Mussolini to Hitler.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm hoping this show is going to lower your blood pressure.
It does. This kind of thing does lower my blood pressure. It does.
Good.
I have a system that is antithetical to the normal human being, because I can see things apparently that supposedly people that are more intelligent than I am and more well-read than I am can't even fucking see. I mean, and it's already happened. It's not like I'm Cassandra or something that I'm predicting the future. It's already happening.
Yeah, I when I look around, I don't see much different than it was, you know, under Obama. You know, not much has changed. It's basically the same society. And that's how it is. You know, we change our leaders, Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. You know, I think Trump was a little bit different in that he represented an alternative to the establishment, and they didn't appreciate it.
He didn't present an alternative. He just was a total establishment, but he bullshitted too much. He talked too much. It's like when Bolton came to his office and said, you know, we got to do something about Venezuela. And Trump goes, well, why? Why would we want to do something about Venezuela? Because he doesn't know shit about what he's talking about. And Bolton goes, but they have a lot of oil. They got more oil reserves than any place else in the world. Trump's response, we have to invade and steal that oil. But it went public. He literally says we have to invade the country and steal the oil. He literally said that several times about different places in the world, Iraq, Syria. We have to steal the oil. That doesn't make him
different or worse than anybody else. In
yes,
fact,
but it's open. It was
kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have some honesty. I appreciated the honesty.
It wasn't honesty,
but I think he wasn't appreciated, and he wasn't liked because he was not somebody that they controlled, right? So he wasn't polished. He wasn't their puppet. He was going to do things. He was a loose cannon, and I agree. That's why you know, he was somewhat of a threat. But he also didn't embrace their
Now we go back to domestic policy. We go back to domestic policy.
Waging a war against Russia.
And who does he appeal to?
He said,
with that kind of open stupidity,
and I don't think that went over very well with.
He appeals to the idiots out there. Just look at Jimmy Dore's comments now. It's completely flipped. They used to be somewhat quasi-intelligent leftist comments. Now they're all right-wing. Now you might as well be on Breitbart, except when he talks about foreign policy. But even that to a certain extent, because those people are tired of going into the foreign wars. So it's, you know, please. I tell you what we ought to do. We ought to just sit back and not talk for a year, and then after a year has passed, we'll see what the country looks like, and we'll see. You know,
you're trying to have it both ways. You're telling me you got to be worried because in the future, and then you're saying it's happening now, so it can't be both.
No, it can happen now, and it can increase in the future. So it's obvious even to people like you, even to you, and even to Jimmy Dore, or that meathead.
It's not obvious now.
No, apparently it's not extreme enough for you to have blacks killed every fucking day, shot by citizens.
But that's not Trump's fault, shot by that's cops been going on for a long time. And to blame Trump, I don't think it's fair. But final words from you both. It's devolved a little bit. It wasn't that productive towards the end, but but it's cathartic, perhaps.
It was productive. It was if there's one person out there that heard this and came to realize what this bullshit is around Trump and DeSantis and these other right wings and the fantasies they foster and how people claim to believe the most ridiculous things on the planet. Good.
Okay, I will give you the last word. Thank you.
Right.
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your product and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the websites they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our new site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the